Hey, from what you see on here and what's going to be on, well, we got to be quiet now.
Greetings, and good evening, and welcome to the RoundTable. Today is Friday, November the 10th, 2023. Bonsoir, comment ça va? My name is Drew, and I am one of your mighty co-hosts on this train we call the RoundTable, where we get into all of the latest and greatest action of the NFL and the NCAA. And ladies and gentlemen, we have another awesome weekend of football in front of us this weekend, but it is also the day that this country has recognized as Veterans Day for the year of 2023. So before we begin tonight's show, we're going to have a personal message from both of your co-hosts on this Veterans Day and Veterans Day weekend. And as always, there is no one that I would rather talk football and life with or about than with my brother Griff. Brother, how are we doing on this fine Veterans Day and Veterans Day weekend?
Man, hey, man, again, as always, I look forward to getting on here with you on Friday, getting on here with the RoundTable, chatting it up. I see my brother Tate just popped on here. What's going on, Kenny? But, man, I'm doing great. It's the weekend that I always put me in the mindset of reflecting on those 30-plus years that we did, man. And, hey, I'm looking forward to the show, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And before we actually begin tonight's show and start talking about the matters of the National Football League and the NCAA, I would like to take a couple of moments at the top of the show for both us to share an opportunity or to have an opportunity to share a personal message, if we choose to do so, with veterans out there in the United States of America. Now, today is November the 10th, 2023. Today is the day that this nation has recognized as Veterans Day, and a happy, heartfelt Veterans Day to each and every veteran out there. But before I actually give you my message, I want to make sure that everybody clearly understands that it is an enormous responsibility that each and every person takes whenever he or she or they decide to join whatever branch of service that they decide to join and to serve for whatever time that they decide to serve. And that is a personal sacrifice that each of them makes. And it is a debt that can never be repaid. So regardless of how you may feel about one's service, ensure that you understand that each and every freedom or perceived freedom that you may possess today, it is a lot in part because of the sacrifices that veterans make. Now, at the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month, the often forgotten shall be recognized. Happy Veterans Day and Veterans Day weekend to all who have donned the cloth of America's fighting forces. No matter how complicated the issue may be for some of us to understand, or for some of us to go through as we are going through it in our day-to-day lives. The countless sacrifices that each and every single veteran has made throughout his or her career most often goes unnoticed and or unrecognized. But this nation would not be the slow evolving collective that she is today without each and every single one of you and the dedicated services that you provided during your tender, whether you have already hung up your boots or whether or not you're continuing to serve now. And from one veteran to another, I personally thank you for your service. I thank you for those personal sacrifices, and I thank you for those issues that you continue to deal with in a day-to-day life. So enjoy your weekend. Know that your service was thankful, even though you may not hear it enough. That's what I got to say. So happy Veterans Day to you all. And I turn it over to you, Brother Griff.
Hey, man, I think you gave a huge, big shout out to the veterans. And again, I want to send that same heartfelt thank you to all the veterans out there. But you know what? I want to put a twist on it because you just gave a shout out to all our brothers and sisters that serve. And even though this day might not be where we recognize the families, but I also want to recognize the family members of the veterans, man, because if it wasn't for the families, the veterans wouldn't be able to do what they would have been able to do what they did while they were serving. I think those are the unsung heroes, the people that don't get recognized enough. Because you see a serviceman and woman, you tell somebody you serve, everybody always like to tell us thank you for the service. But they don't tell those family members, they don't tell that son, that daughter, that wife that had to, stress and be worried while you was gone. I would tell you, man, that, I want to say happy Veterans Day to my son. Man, my son, and I mean, then this is a personal thing. My son had to go to 4 different high schools in 4 different years because of my service to this country. See, a lot of people don't see that stuff. They always give us a pat on the back. They always, wave the flag for us. And the family members are the ones that I feel that don't get enough recognition. So for the family members that's watching, that also have a service member that serve, I salute you as well as I salute our men and women. And so with that being said, man, that's all I got, Drew, man. Let's get into some football, man.
Man, before we do that, this is time the type of conversation that I just love sometimes. And before we actually talk about football, because we got a little bit of time, because we're gonna bring, talk about the Bears and the Panthers, so we can squeeze that in. But before we do that, this is how succinct that when you create a bond, right? When you create a bond because of what you do and how you do it and while you do it, sometimes the known doesn't have to be spoken. And you and I did not have an opportunity to talk about our personal messages before we got on tonight's show. Mm-hmm. And I purposefully knew how dedicated of a leader that you were and where you encompassed the entire soldier, or in our case, soldier, but service member, and the 6 branches. And knowing how critical and vital each and every family member is to the success of that particular service member, whether or not it's an immediate family member or an extended family member, that service member relies on the support of their family, whether it's by blood or by bond or by what you consider to be your family, right? And highlighting their importance in everything that person can accomplish, whether or not they receive that personal support or whether or not they don't have that personal support, contributes to the success that person or that service member has, and how much he or she or they can contribute to whatever service that they are in, and whether or not you're going to be a better person because of it. So thank you for highlighting the family. Now we can talk about some football and the NFL. Ladies and gentlemen, it is week 11. Correction, week 10 in the NFL. And every week begins on that Thursday, right? And last night's game was, it was a head scratcher for a lot of fans. It was, it's a 1-7 team going up against a 2-7 team, or a 1-8 team going up against a 2-7 team, or whatever. Both teams are struggling. Viewership probably did not break records. But for those of you that did watch the game, were you entertained? Yes, I think you were, because this was actually a pretty good game. And before we actually talk about it, I got to talk about those Chicago Bears uniforms. Man, me personally, I just love the color of burnt orange. Those uniforms are fire. They should go with some black pants. This is the only time I'm going to talk about uniforms all season. But those uniforms for the Chicago Bears, even though their season and their team is terrible, those uniforms were fire. You got anything you want to talk about this game other than them beating?
I just want to talk to the Panther fans out there, the unrealistic Panther fans, because everybody, they all off with Bryce head right now. There's a reason why you get the number one pick. There's a reason why you get the number one pick in the NFL draft. Because normally, unless you did some trading up or whatever, you probably got the worst team in the league. And one addition to your team is not going to make your team be successful overnight. Bryce Young, man, I say this, Drew, because I've seen so many people, they want to go at this kid. When your top receiver, hell, he old enough to retire from the Army right now, and Thielen, in the offensive line, man, the kid don't even get 2 seconds to drop back before he already getting, plummet. I just say for the Panther fans out there, give it some time. Y'all got to just hope your front office makes some good picks, put some people around them, get the right people around them. I'm telling you, just think back to Tua. A couple of years ago, everybody talked about how awful Tua was. Mm-hmm. Miami had Tua on a pitch count. But the minute they start putting people around Tua, look and see what happened. You got the same, I would say you got the same type of guy, but I think a little with a higher football IQ than Tua does. You just got to give him the opportunity. And that's the only thing I want to say with that.
You said it all. We can move on.
Yes, sir. Let's keep it moving.
All right, man. Let's talk about some football that is actually in front of us that we have not determined what the outcome is going to be. This is a very interesting game this weekend, right? Because you have the San Francisco 49ers traveling all the way from the left coast down to the southeast coast, taking on a Jacksonville Jaguars team that is ready to defend Duval County, right? Because they have shown themselves to be not only the king of the South, but someone who is legitimately ready to compete for the crown in the AFC. Now, this is their biggest test thus far this season, I think. Why? Because you have a team that is coming in that is hungry. And I do mean hungry for a W because they haven't tasted a W since WWE was headlining SummerSlam or something. I don't know. The San Francisco 49ers were, and probably still are, a lot of people's picks to come out of this NFC to be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl. They've lost 3 straight. Debo is back. The bye helped them to recover and heal, even though Trent Williams is still not 100%. Do you think the 49ers travel and hand Jacksonville that, well, you don't have to give your prediction now, but how do they match up with Debo coming back?
Debo adds some to the offense that Purdy definitely has been missing. What I would say is that I'm about to give my pick, so let me back up. I don't want to give my pick, but what I will say, and I think Troy just talked about it. You got Chase Young that's been added to the defense. You got Debo possibly coming back. You done gave McCaffrey a few weeks to get healthy, as well as you done gave Shanahan a few weeks to look at tape and prepare for this game. So we already say every Sunday it's the reason why we play the game. Anything is possible. On the other side of the ball, you said it, Jacksonville is playing some of their best ball. But on the flip side of it, who has Jacksonville actually played? So I think, for one, Jacksonville, this game is just as important to Jacksonville as it is to the 49ers, because the 49ers really need this game, bro. If they lose this game right here, it's going to be I don't see them coming back in a division. I'm just going to keep it real with you. It's going to be how we was looking at them at the beginning of the season, like one of the top teams in the league. I think they strength is just going to drop. That's just me. That's my personal opinion. Jacksonville, this is their way to prove that, hey, we are the real deal. And look out, Baltimore. Y'all ain't the only ones in the AFC that's making moves. So I'm looking forward to seeing this game because it's going to be a game that a lot of people are going to be watching.
You're absolutely correct. And before I provide my response to to your soliloquy, I have to make sure that we recognize each and every person that decided to dedicate a few minutes of their night, their Friday evening, to join us on tonight's show. So to the entire Roundtable audience, my apologies for not recognizing you at the top of the show. Thank you for dedicating at least 59 minutes and 59 seconds of your evening to share with myself and Brother Griff as we dialogue about the matters of the NFL. Now, I saw in the comments, Gino, you made a comment pertaining to Tua, right? You made a comment pertaining to Tua, and I just want to highlight his question or comment because he said that they gave Tua everything, and Tom Brady did it with far less. You're absolutely right about those two statements as it pertains to the weapons that Tua has. No, I'm gonna entertain him for a quick minute.
Yeah,
you're right in a sense to where they gave Tua more weapons at the same time that Tom Brady has flash weapons, those players that can make big time plays and those big time moments because they have breakout speed. But at the same time, it is absolutely unfair to compare a player who has been in the league all of 2 years to somebody who has a 20-year track record and is considered as the best quarterback of all time. We cannot use Tom Brady as the barometer for every quarterback in today's football and use him as, well, Tom Brady did it with 4-11. No, we can't do that, right? Tua is operating with the weapons that helps him to exploit his own weapons, his own arm, his own vision, his own predicting where the receiver is going to be. Throwing the ball up and down the field 60 yards right into the pocket of someone who is running at 21 or 22 miles per hour is not that easy, fam. It's not. Now, back to the Jaguars. Go ahead.
Hey, I can't move forward until I just got to address this. I know we on the pitch where I get us caught up.
Go ahead.
I would just tell Gino to go back because I mean, again, are you basing this off facts or what you know? I asked you to go back and look at Tua's first season.
Look at the facts.
Go look at the first season of Tua. One, they had him on a pitch count. Two, look and see what he had. I ain't talking about what he got right now. I'm talking about what Tua had. And Brady walked into a situation. He walked into a Super Bowl team already. So I mean, I like what you're saying, but I'm trying to tell you, Brady walked into a situation where he replaced a star quarterback. All the pieces was already in place when Brady took his spot. Tua was on a pitch count, came in the middle of the season because they was going back and forth with him and Fitzpatrick. And then when they did go get receivers, that first year when he was the starter, all those receivers was on the injured list. He was basically playing people off the sideline. I'm just going to be honest. Go check and look at that.
Yeah.
So now we can keep it moving.
Yeah, and I'll close that out by he was playing for a coach, Brian Flores. They didn't even want him.
Yeah.
So remember that. Now, back to the 49ers and the Jags, man. You're absolutely right that the 49ers need this win because of their 3 straight losses. They cannot afford to slip anymore, but there's even though that they are favored and they are being picked because of Debo's return, and Debo is the difference maker. I don't care what anybody says. You can have all of the other weapons that you have at your disposal, CMC, Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, and all of the other receivers. Doesn't matter. Without Debo, that team is pedestrian. And Debo is that difference maker. And he is going to be the difference maker this weekend. Whether or not he's effective, that would dictate whether or not the 49ers win the game. If the Jacksonville Jaguars can shut him down and limit his ability to either create big plays or come across the middle and break tackles, then yeah, the Jaguars have a very good shot at winning this game at home. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. So with that being said, let's move on to the next big game of the weekend. Your Cleveland Browns traveling to your AFC North leading Baltimore Ravens, led by my MVP at midway point of the season. Deshaun Watson, I don't know if he's actually a quarterback in 2023. He's dressing out as a quarterback in 2023, but he hasn't shown himself to be a quarterback in 2023 as of yet. Last time I checked, he was collecting a quarterback salary in 2023, but again, he has not shown himself to be a quarterback in 2023. PJ Walker has shown himself to be such a quarterback, but not Deshaun Watson. This is Deshaun Watson's big opportunity to make a splash because you have, depending on how you look at it, the number one ranked defense in the Cleveland Browns going up against the number one ranked defense in the Baltimore Ravens. And the offense of the Baltimore Ravens that's just beating people up in their run game. And I don't know if the Cleveland Browns secondary can actually stop Baltimore's pass game. What do you think happens this weekend? And what gives Cleveland an actual legitimate shot to win?
I think one that gives Cleveland an actual shot, you already said a defense. I think Cleveland has to be able to establish a run game. If you're gonna, and you know me, I'm all about the run. Now they got, Deshaun played a pretty decent game last week with Cooper, man. But I think turnovers, Cleveland can't afford to have no turnovers. And I see a defensive struggle because both defenses are pretty good. And I think this is probably the best defenses that both teams play. Well, Cleveland did play against the 49ers. So they didn't play against a top-tier defense. But I think it's going to be a defensive struggle this weekend. And I just think Cleveland got to play one of its best games.
Troy pulled out an old drill sergeant saying that he used to use on his soldiers when he was a drill sergeant way back in 1973. He told me to stand at the position of attention, execute an about face, and stare into space.
That joker, man. You can't pay attention to that what Troy said, man.
Man, I haven't heard that in a long time. Just stare into space. Why, drill sergeant? Just do it.
Hey, like how they told us at the drill science school, man. Hey, go over there and talk to that tree. It'll listen to you.
Exactly, right? That's how you learn how to modulate, baby. But no, this is a make it or break it weekend for Deshaun Watson as to whether or not he's to be taken seriously this year. He has to show up. I'm not saying that he has to lead the Cleveland Browns to victory because Baltimore is the division leaders for a reason. They're 7-2. And I got it. The two losses were flaky, Fugazi losses to teams that they should have beaten. And just like the Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens should be undefeated, truth be told. But they are where they are. And Cleveland, no matter how ineffective you've had at quarterback play, they're still 5-3. And they can still go into Baltimore and walk out with a dub because Kareem Hunt and that, patched up run game has been effective. And like you mentioned, Lamar has had a little bit of success over the past week since his return. And if Baltimore does not have that run game in play and Lamar doesn't have those opportunities to escape the pocket, it could be a long day for the Ravens. And because John Harbaugh is prone to, make a gaffe every now and then. But so we shall see who we pick at the end of the show, Karen. Yeah. Stand by. All right, moving on, man. The next big game, which it's a surprising game. It's a head-scratcher game. It is an interesting game because it is not an easy victory for the most scary 5-3 team in the history of the National Football League, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Houston Texans are traveling and coming in.
Well, you kill me when you say that. Every time you say that.
Huh? Say what?
No, I say every time you say the most scariest team in the history, the 5-3 team in the history of NFL football.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, they're going to keep proving it. Before you know it, we're going to be in the middle of December, and they're going to be like 10-3, 12-3. I don't know about 12-3 because they do go up against the Ravens on Thursday Night Football next weekend. So we're going to have to remind us, make some picks on Tuesday night about Thursday night's game next show. But this game, man, how do you think the Rookie of the Year is going to perform up against a legitimate Cincinnati defense?
Man, CJ been performing all season, man. I don't see no different. Again, I think the difference maker here, and I went and had the opportunity to go watch the Texans play this past weekend. I think they're going to take a solid team up there with the Bengals. But like you said, I don't know if they're the scariest team in the history of the NFL, but they upticking. That's all I can say. The offense is starting to connect with each other. I think you're gonna have a better, a little bit healthier Chase this week because T. Higgins took basically the load off of last week because Chase back was actually hurting, but Mixon for me is always the X factor for in the Bengals game. Teams gonna get an opportunity to get their sacks on Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow also has the ability to escape and utilize his legs to extend drives. So I'm looking for a good game. I think both of the former Ohio State quarterbacks is gonna be a nice. I know you don't want to say Ohio State, but Gino on here, so I have to say that. But I know Joe Burrow finished at LSU, but he started at OH, and so I just had to go and put that plug out there for Gino.
Well, no, I don't really care about Gino's feelings on this point. Joe Burrow himself would tell you his residence is in Ohio. He registered as an incoming freshman in Ohio and was on the bench for a couple of years, but he said, I never played football at Ohio State. So when it comes to the game of football, I am a Tiger, LSU Tiger for life. And Gino knows this. But he does have a heck of a Ohio State quarterback on the opposite side of the football field in C.J. Stroud. And as we've already affirmed, C.J. Stroud is the NFL Rookie of the Year. We're calling it already by Veterans Day. And you are correct that I think that offense is going to be able to have a little bit of success against the Cincinnati defense early. But we've seen Cincinnati progress both on the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball every week and every game in real time. So the early success that Houston may have at the beginning of this game is going to tamper off, and the clamps are going to get pulled down on that offense. And I don't think it's going to be a shootout of sorts. It's going to be somewhat of a defensive struggle midway through the second and the third, probably early into the fourth quarter, and then we'll see who is able to make a big play late in the game to actually pull this one out. So, but yeah, I think you are right. This is going to be a very good game.
I think the key to CJ is getting the ball. If it's one area that the Bengals have struggled with this season, it's tight ends. And when I went and watched that game this past week, yes, he got the ball to Dale and he got the ball to Miko Collins, but the person that was saving CJ and extending drives was actually Dalton Schultz. And so Dalton Schultz is also going to be a factor. How the Bengals, because they have given up a lot of yards to tight ends this year, so that's going to be a factor whether or not Houston is able to extend drives and not be doing 3 and outs. So just look for that.
Agreed. Another exciting game in the 1 o'clock hour. So depending on what area of the country that you're in or what type of service that you have, what type of programming that you signed up for, you might be able to catch this game live. And if you are able to, you should definitely sit down and focus and lock in on it, because this is going to be a good one. Looking forward to it. All right, on to the next big game of the day. Same time slot. Saints traveling up to Minneapolis, to the Skull area to take on a Minnesota Vikings that has a whole lot of hope. And they seem to found a whole lot of dreams over the past week since the arrival of one each Joshua Dobbs from the desert of Arizona. And the magic that he was able to create last weekend down there in Hotlanta has given the Minnesota Vikings the gumption to believe that they can actually make a playoff push. Well, guess what? They have another NFC South team coming into town, and this one is the NFC South leading the New Orleans Saints with a defense that is much better, much more tenacious, much more aggressive than what they saw last weekend against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, granted, the offense is fugazi sometimes, and they could put up 30 points, but they could also put up 0 points. How do you think this one plays out with the Saints traveling up to Minnesota?
Well, he's supposed to be getting JJ back this week, man. So
I think he's not playing this weekend. I don't think he's playing.
Well, last I checked, man, they saying JJ's probably going to be playing in this game. And if he does, that's added because, they lost Osborne, but Addison been playing pretty good. But I like old CJ Stroud. I'm talking about. I'm still on Houston Tech. I like Dobbs, man. I'm pulling for Dobbs, man, because Dobbs got one of them stories, man, that might mess around and be like a Kurt Warner movie later. They might have a movie. Dobbs take his team, talk about him being an astronaut and all this other stuff, and then he'd have been on like 3-4 teams in the same year, and he come up there. I mean, the Falcons, man, you said it what you said, the Falcons, though. Yeah, it was the Falcons. But I think he got a test. But again, on the other side, you already know how I feel about your quarterback, and I already know how you feel about your team and the coaching and everything else. So anything is possible, because it might not even be your team that loses the game. It might be your coach that loses the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one too.
Yeah. I've checking out a couple of comments up in the chat. As much as I've been hyping up Joshua Dobbs the past couple of weeks and giving him all of the flowers because of the success that he had against those Atlanta Falcons. 28-3. But I'm gonna have to tear him down a notch. There's a reason that Joshua Dobbs has been on 5 NFL teams in the past 365 days. There's a reason that Joshua Dobbs has been on 3 NFL teams just this year. Do not, ladies and gentlemen, as Frederick tried to put in the comments, my Saints don't stand a chance. Do not, ladies and gentlemen, believe for one iota that Josh Dobbs is the savior of the Vikings. No. You're going to get your skull cracked believing that. Hence the punt, right? No, but seriously, the level of pressure that he is going to endure this weekend, I got it. The escapability that he has is definitely a plus for him. But we, being the Saints, have one of the best sideline-to-sideline linebacking core in the National Football League. We're not a top 4 defense for no reason. Now, granted, the offense, like I said, is a completely different story. But I do believe that the Saints, and I'm going to go ahead and call this before I even get to my picks, that my Saints are going to be able to travel up to Minnesota and win a tough game against a rising Minnesota team, even with Justin Jefferson's return. Looking forward to this game as well, but, saying that my Saints
you didn't surprise us with that. We didn't even have to wait till the picks to know who you was picking for that game. So thank you. But we know we already knew what you was going anyway.
You just never know where I'm gonna go each weekend. I told you this was gonna be the weekend that you can catch up.
Oh, okay.
All right, man. Moving on to the next game. The Lions. The NFC North Elite Lions traveling to Los Angeles. Back to the scene of the crime for Jared Goff, but not the scene of the crime as it pertains to the team. Same locker room, though. Same stadium. To take on the Los Angeles Chargers, who, again, could put up 40 or could put up 4. You just never know with Brandon Staley. And even with the boy wonder offensive coordinator that I don't know why y'all let go, but, it is what it is. It is what it is. How do you think this game is going to go, man? Are the Lions really the team? Or do they take a slide or a step back the second half of the season?
No, I don't see them stepping back. I mean, again, now I go telling my pick, but I think the Lions have the ability to go in there. The Chargers' problem is they defense, man. Their defense has not been even with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack over there, they have not been that defense that people thought they was going to be. The Lions get Montgomery back this week along with Jahmyr Gibbs, which that takes a lot of the stress off of Jared Goff. And with the combination we now already seen with Williams, what is Saint? I can't say the dude's name, but hey, man, I see it being a good game. But I don't see it being a struggle against the Chargers. That's just me personally. The Chargers defense has not been that team this year. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, yeah. On the comments section that we're getting ready to do in a couple of minutes, Jordan, you can exit Troy's question about how's Lamar even in the MVP conversation, dude. Slap yourself. for that. But the question that I do want to have or talk about is Justin Fields and the possibility of the Bears trading him at the end of the season, and whether or not it's a benefit for Fields, the team, or both. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But
Okay.
I agree with you. I agree with you about this game between the Lions and the Chargers. It's time for the Chargers to show up. This is a make it or break it game for them as well. They're obviously not favored to win. The Lions are for real this season, and the Lions should win this game because these are the types of games that you need to win if you are the Lions and you want to be taken seriously as an actual contender in the NFC or for the NFC crown against Philadelphia and San Francisco or even Dallas. So these are the types of games that you have to grind out and you have to win if you're the Lions. If you are the Chargers, your season is on the line because they're 5-4. You're not going to catch Kansas City, but unless you haven't been paying attention, the AFC North has four teams that are 5-3 or better, which lets you know that they are good. So you're not going to be a wild card if you don't get it together. And this is a game that is going to make it or break it, and or for Miles, Staley's job. Yep. If he doesn't win and they lose miserably or get blown out, he deserves to get fired. Brandon Staley deserves to get fired the very next day. If they win, then he keeps his job for another week. But
we've been talking about that all season. The only reason why he's still, every time, one of those times we think he's gonna lose it, they win a game. But for me, man, it's just when I look at the two teams, honestly, this is why I look at where players buy into what the coach is putting down and where the players are not buying into what. And the Lions, one of the reasons why the Lions is doing what they're doing, man, them players have bought into what their head coach got going on up there with Dan Campbell, man. The Chargers just, like I've seen somebody said, the Chargers just look underwhelming. And that's true. And it's because of the coaching staff, man. Them kids ain't picking up what they putting down.
Yeah, and the loss of Mike Williams is just huge. No matter how good Justin Herbert projects himself to be, is just not they're not the team. All right, so let's move on, man, to a game that is in the 4:30 slot. This is sometimes a huge game, but this year it should not be a huge game. But it is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the perfect trap game. Definition of a trap game: when a very good team overlooks a not so good team, and that not so good team goes in and beats that very good team. This being the very good team in this situation, the Dallas Cowboys. This game should be over by halftime because y'all are playing a third, fourth, and or a sixth string quarterback, Danny DeVito's little cousin, Tommy DeVito. Nobody has heard of him until this week. Y'all ready? Y'all better not lose this because, bro, if y'all do, blow up Jerry's world.
Man, man, I don't even want to talk about. I'm not even going to. Hey, how they said in Talladega Nights, don't you put that on us, Ray Bobby. Look, man, I ain't even going to speak that into existence, man. But
you better not.
Hey, my thing is, like we already seen, anything can happen. Hopefully we're not going there thinking about that early season win that we had against them. We got to go in there and act like it's the first time we playing each other. I don't care who on the other side. You still got to act like you got that top tier quarterback over there. You're right. I want this game to be over with by the first quarter so I can go ahead and start getting ready for my next day. Oh, I forgot I'm retired. I don't have to really get ready for my next day. But we don't need to spend no more time on this, man. Only thing I will say, I just don't need. This ain't the game I want Saquon Barkley to show up in. Because we are prone for not stopping the run.
All right. All I shall say, I usually would have more comments about the Cowboys game, but all I will say is that you don't sound as confident as you should going up against a 2-7 team with a quarterback that nobody's ever heard of, and Saquon being the only possible offensive weapon that they could possibly have, and you have supposedly a shutdown run defense. But you don't sound that confident, and you.
Bro, last
time I heard Jerry on radio Last time I heard Jerry on radio, he was saying Dak was the man. Dak played the best game of his.
Man, you better stop. Hey, look, you better stop listening to Suge Knight. That's Suge Knight right there. That's the Suge Knight NFL football, all on the radio, all in the locker room. Hey, look, man, we lost to an Arizona team that picked up a Josh Dobbs that week. So anything is possible.
All right. I got you, dog. All right. In an effort to save us some time, we shall move on to the next game. The next game being the Washington Commanders, the team that you refuse to acknowledge and refer to as the Commodores.
The Commodores.
Lionel Richie would not take kindly to you disparaging the Commodores. But the Washington Commanders traveling up to the Seattle area to take on the Seattle Seahawks, right? And this is the bounce back game for Geno and Pete Carroll and Lockett and DK Metcalf, and the run game and the defense after getting slapped around like getting slapped around like they stole something when they went up to M&T Bank Stadium last Sunday, and the Baltimore Ravens handed them that business. Do we need to actually talk about this game, or are we just going to say that Seattle was going to win this game?
It's a must-win for Seattle. I ain't going to say that they're going to win, but it's a must-win. They got to. Because, Geno had his worst game of the season. I think Metcalf only had one reception in that whole game. They got to. And this is the perfect team to do it too. Washington, really, if you look at it, they didn't got rid of key players, basically saying, hey, we tanking the rest of this season. So that's the way I look at it.
You are correct. They've gotten rid of those key players on defense, but you still, Sam Howell, threw for almost 400 yards against Philly defense a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. And McLaurin is still there. Last I checked, he's healthy. So look for Washington to put a good fight. All right. Before we move on and talk about the actual picks of these games that we just discussed, bring up Geno's question or comment about what was it that we were talking about earlier?
I think you talked about Justin Fields.
Yes, whether or not Justin Fields is going to be a Chicago Bear next year, and whether or not it'll be beneficial for Justin Fields. I said it several weeks ago. When the thumb injury occurred, and we saw that their season was going to be garbage. I started advocating for him to request a trade and not solicit to sign a big extension with the Chicago Bears, a sign and trade type of deal. And we've pondered over the past couple of weeks which team would be a good fit for Justin Fields. I heard something today that made a whole lot of sense. And if I was Justin Fields and or Justin Fields' agent, I would be pushing for this right here, right now. Wouldn't even get back on the field for the Chicago Bears, and I will start talking about I want to be traded to the New York Football Jets. Why? We all know Zach Wilson is not going to get a contract after his rookie deal is over. Aaron Rodgers might be back by next week for all we know, the way that
he's throwing that ball.
I know, right? But he's going to be back for another season because the fire is still within his belly. Justin Fields sitting behind Aaron Rodgers 1 year, learning the offense and becoming an expert in it, and learning from one of the greatest quarterbacks to step on the field. Natural talent-wise, the best quarterback ever to step on the field, talent-wise, and having a defense the way that the Jets have a defense and a solid run game. And we know how Justin Fields can ball out when he's surrounded by the right situation. We've seen those flashes while he's playing in Chicago. That would be the team that I would want to go to because Zach Wilson is out the door in the long run. What do you think?
I think it'll be a good fit, man. But I still, it ain't just. I like the coach. I like the Jets coach too. I think he'd be the right guy for Justin Fields. Yeah, I think systems. It's all about systems and having the right coach. Only thing I would see that would still be a factor up there with the Jets with Justin Fields is the offensive line, man. That's where they struggle at. Their offensive line is really where they struggle at. Because if they had a decent offensive line that actually didn't put Zach Wilson in certain situations, he could probably manage the game. The problem is he has so much pressure on him, man, and that Joker starts seeing ghosts. So, I mean, if they don't do something about that offensive line, I mean, Justin can go there, but it still ain't going to – I don't see it. I mean, it'll be great for him to sit behind Aaron Rodgers and learn because, looking at Hard Knocks and watching the stuff that he was doing with Zach Wilson, he was good for Zach Wilson, man. And it kind of hurt that he got thrown into that. But they say if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I don't think he was ready. I don't think he was ready for this season, bro.
Zach has not been ready his entire NFL career.
Troy said he can sack the quarterback against the Jets because of their offense.
I don't know. I mean, you do have a point that the OC is not all that Hackett, but Hackett was brought in specifically for Aaron Rodgers, and he's comfortable with it. Or Aaron Rodgers is comfortable with him.
With
Hackett. Have 2 consecutive 13-3 seasons out of Green Bay. So it's you're right. Who fits who? Man, I tell you, if I am Justin Fields, I want out of Chi-Town. I mean, I got it. It's a beautiful city, and the Bears are a historic franchise, but they've been garbage for a very, 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 very long
relationship. I think that relationship is done. It's spoiled. It's time to go. So, hey, man, let's go.
Let's move on and get these picks in, man. Let's move on and get these picks in for these games that we just broke down and analyzed and talked about. And are we going to see any upsets this weekend?
So I'm just gonna give you what I got, man. I got the Jags over the 49ers. I think playing at home, I think playing at home is gonna be the thing. I think that people got enough tape on Purdy now. So Purdy is not gonna be that guy, even with Debo coming back. I got the Ravens over the Browns. Again, it's because of them being at home. I think that's gonna be that factor. I got the Bengals over the Texans. Like CJ. But I just think the Bengals, the scariest team, 5-3 or 4 team in the history of the NFL, they went in the right direction. Now, I got the Lions taking the Chargers. I skipped it. Oh, my bad. This is where I know we're going to differ. This is why I'm going to make up my space. I actually got the Vikings at home beating the Saints. I can never pick a team that's quarterbacked by Derek Carr. I just can't do it. So I got the Vikings over the Saints. I got the Lions over the Chargers, the Cowboys over the Giants, and then I got the Seahawks over the Commodores. I think it's going to be Geno bounce back week.
Point of order.
Okay, come on, Congressman.
I think we copied off of each other's paper for a 7-1 of these for the exact same reason. 49ers traveling down to Duval County. Are not going to right the ship. This is the most difficult game of the weekend to pick for me because Debo is that much of a difference maker for me, man. He can turn a game on its head in the blink of an eye, and he has shown he can do it in the biggest moments. So, but the Jaguars they're clicking on all cylinders here recently. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick with you and stick with the home team. The Jaguars taking care of business against the 49ers, and the 49ers dropped to 5-4. The Browns traveling up to the Ravens. I think the biggest contract in the history of the National Football League as it pertains to guaranteed money, Deshaun Watson, is going to actually earn some of that money this weekend, and the defense is going to show up for the Cleveland Browns against the Baltimore Ravens, and they're going to play very well against the Baltimore Ravens and my MVP, your MVP, Lamar Jackson. But still, Baltimore is going to win this game in a close one at the end with a Justin Tucker kick, probably. Bengals taking care of the Texans, even though C.J. Stroud is going to have a good game. The Bengals are just too good, too strong. The Saints go into Minnesota and exact some revenge for that playoff loss they lost several years to that backup quarterback. I forget his name, but I still don't like him. On that reception by Stephon Diggs before his departure to Buffalo. So the Saints take care of business in the Vikings' homeland. The Lions travel to the Chargers and take care of business against the Chargers. The Cowboys.
Say it.
The Giants lose on Sunday. The Giants do not get a W. And the Seahawks take care of the Commanders and win.
The Commodores, man. The Commodores.
The Saints or the Seahawks beat the Commanders, not the Commodores. Leave the Commodores alone. All right, man. Let's move on to the most exciting weekend of college football yet in the 2023 season. It's lunchtime now. It's time to bring your lunch pail and put on your hard hat and put some work in on Saturday as we transfer into playoff season. You have the number 2, and I misspoke on Tuesday. We had the AP poll up, not the college football playoff poll up when we brought it up in this segment of the show on Tuesday night. So Georgia's ranked number 1 in the AP poll. They're ranked number 2 in the college football playoffs poll, which is the one that really matters. Well, both of them matter, or none of them matter, to be honest. But because it's all going to get decided on the gridiron. And this weekend, in between the hedges in Athens, when you got Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels coming in looking to knock off Georgia, the 2-time defending champs, Georgia. You think Ole Miss has a shot?
No, I don't think they have a shot. And the only reason why I don't think they have a shot is not because of the offensive side of the ball. It's going to probably be the most electrifying offense that Georgia has played all season. I'm just going to keep it real. I just think the defense, Lane Kiffin's defense is just, I mean, that's all I'm going to say. Georgia's going to be okay. Yeah. I think this is Beck's opportunity again to prove all the people that think that he's not the guy for Georgia. I mean, for me, as long as you winning, I really don't care how he win. He's still winning, and ain't nobody come on. But I just think Ole Miss defense is going to be the problem in this game.
So you picking Ole Miss for the upset?
Nuh-uh. I'm picking Georgia. I didn't say. Okay. I said Ole Miss defense is going to be their problem. That's going to be their problem.
Oh, okay.
They're going to score. Yeah. I believe Ole Miss is going to be able to score. I mean that's just Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin going to do what he got to do. But I think what I just see with Dart is capable of throwing an interception here and there because he takes some risks. Oh, yeah, you're right. And Kirby is going to do what he got to do with Beck. Granted, he don't have Bowers back, but I mean, them other receivers and them other tight ends that came right in and they still doing what they're doing. And, you know, Kirby is a defensive guy. So I still think Georgia will walk away from this game. And they playing in Georgia at Sanford. That's the other piece.
Yeah. And this is the primetime game Saturday night in Athens, in between the hedges. And, you know, you've already mentioned the Ole Miss defense and their inability to actually stop anybody, and Georgia really coming in form when they had the game against Florida in the biggest cocktail party. Beck has settled into being a reliable quarterback, regardless of whether or not Bowers is out. Georgia is clicking on all cylinders on offense, and they're definitely stout on defense. And I don't think that Ole Miss's defense has the ability to stop Georgia at any point in the game. You're right. Georgia should be pushing the ball up and down the field throughout the game. Ole Miss will score because they have one of the top offenses in the league. No matter how Lane Kiffin can jack up a game, the talent is the talent. And even though Darby is prone to throw interceptions, he still should be able to string in enough passes there to move that offense up and down that field and make that game competitive for some time. But Georgia should pull out and win this game. And which I like should
Lane,
elevate them.
You just keep free. Hey, look, check this out. Just know that Lane Kiffin is gonna go for it. That's what I like about Lane Kiffin, because he's gonna go for it on fourth down. Lane Kiffin uses all four of his downs. So you know, one of the biggest topics that they've been talking about this over the week is that Ole Miss has the lowest third down completion rate. It's because he already going to that third down knowing that he using fourth down. So that's a misnomer, but I'm gonna leave that at that. But at the end of the day, I think Georgia, especially in the fourth quarter, that Georgia offense is gonna be running the ball down Ole Miss throat. So
no, you're right.
Michigan and Penn State.
The game that has gotten all of the national publicity this week, man, and not for the on the field action because of the scandal that is happening up there in Ann Arbor with the scouting and the sign stealing, which every team does it. I don't know why y'all even trying to fake the fun. Every team does it on the college level. Every team does it on the NFL level. The players will tell you themselves. Michigan just got caught and went a little bit too far with how they were acquiring those calls. Anyways, on the field, Michigan traveling up to Penn State, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a whiteout and up there in College Station. Do you think Penn State actually can compete with Michigan, or are they going to get the doors blown off of them as well?
No, I don't think they're going to get the doors blown off of them. I think the Penn State defense will make this a game. But when we saw with the Penn State game against Ohio State, the problem with Penn State is that the offense. The offense is the one that hurt them in the Ohio State game. Penn State should have won that Ohio State game. They just had no offense. I think Penn State also has something to prove because last year Michigan did come in there. Now, let me just say this about the Harbaugh situation. I'm going to be honest. I think the NCAA went soft because here's the thing. He can still coach the team. He can still go to practice. He can still be in the locker room. I mean, and he can give them the scripts and do what they got to do. And I just think it just made Michigan even hungrier and even madder. I think they done daggone threw a rock at a beehive, and that might hurt Penn State because them boys going to be even madder because you telling us our coach. Because if Michigan State, I mean, not saying Michigan State, but if Michigan continues to win, you know Harbaugh get to come back, the coach in the Big Ten. So I just think that was like a slap on the wrist for real, bro. Yeah, everybody do it. But if all I'm gonna get is 3 games taken away, I'm gonna keep on stealing. I'm gonna keep on stealing signals.
Yo, check this out, right? We know this investigation by the Big Ten Conference and the Big Ten Conference commissioner was fake. We know that because it was because of media pressure. When Michigan made the same allegation against Ohio State and Purdue for sign stealing, you can't sit here and say, well, we're going to punish Jim Harbaugh and kick him out of the national championship competition and or his team and punish them and take away from the millions upon millions of dollars that are going to come to our conference and that school and or Ohio State if Ohio State makes it. You honestly expected the Big Ten Conference, investigation was fake because the NCAA hasn't even formally said we are investigating. We have not even formally notified the school that they are investigating. And got it. They were caught red-handed. The tape is the tape. You cannot lie about it. But saying that, okay, this is the suspension. You are not to come back onto the sideline on Saturday until the end of the season, which means you can still coach the team from Monday through Friday. And you have to call the game from the house, but you can't. The punishment is we don't want you on the sideline against Ohio State the last game of the regular season. That is the punishment, period. And when they make it to the Big Ten championship game, he'll be back. And then when they go to the playoffs, he'll be there. And I saw that Gino put in there he needs to watch this game this weekend so that he can still sign for Ohio State. Bro, that ain't gonna help y'all. It ain't gonna help y'all because on the field, Michigan got y'all number this year, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna go ahead and call that game 3 weeks out. They got y'all number unless there are injuries. Man. I got it. Harrison Jr. is gonna ball out, but Michigan gonna beat y'all. Put it out there. So there's no confusion.
Man, the cards don't lie. This joker is psychic.
The cards don't lie, baby. So moving on, man. But yeah, Michigan should win this game rather easily, in my opinion. Against Penn State, their offense is just non-existent. Their defense is good. They have a top 10 defense nationally, a top defense in their conference. But that Michigan offense and defense, even though they haven't been tested really against a national powerhouse or a Power 5 conference type game this year, we're about to see this weekend how good Michigan actually is. And like you said, all of that aggression that they've had building since all of this attention, unwarranted attention has come their way, they're going to unleash on the Nittany Lions in College Station this weekend. And I think it's going to be a pretty easy victory for Michigan. So moving on, man, Utah against Washington. You looking forward to this one? I know we coming
Hey
up
man,
against the top of the hour.
yeah, you got the number one offense. You got the number one offense in the Pac-12 going against the number one defense, passing defense. I'm looking forward to seeing this game, bro. I know
No,
everybody,
you're right.
everybody, they looking at Washington. They already, dubbed the quarterback, the Heisman Trophy winner, and all this other stuff. But Utah is a scary team, bro. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be one of the better games this weekend, and it's going to definitely shake up the college football playoff picture.
Yes, because we've already talked about Georgia. We've already talked about Michigan. Ohio State has another cupcake type of game. That's why they're not in the discussion for tonight. And you have Washington. If Washington loses a game this year, I think this is the weekend that they lose because of that defense Utah brings. Now, granted, when Utah had their opportunity on the big stage against Oregon, they got the brakes blown off of them. So can that defense travel to Washington and slow down Penix Jr. and that Washington offense that is, as high powered as any other offense in the country? We shall see come Saturday. But if Washington loses, it's not going to be a surprise. But I'm going to pick them. I'm going to pick them in a closer game that it should be. But Washington should pull this out at home. And that's the only reason that I'm picking them at home. If they were traveling to Utah, I would have gone with the Utah Utes this
one. Gino said final score 103-97.
Probably, but you never know. All right, man, let's close this out with traveling all the way from Seattle and Tacoma, Washington, down to Tallahassee, Florida, where the Miami Hurricanes, the U, what used to be the U, is coming up to Tallahassee and the state or the battle for Florida. What do you think the Hurricanes got for those or for those Seminoles this weekend?
Nothing.
He said nothing.
I mean, it's a rivalry game. It's one of those games, just like the battle for the state. I just don't think. I mean, this is Florida State year. This is Florida State's year to win the ACC and everything in my eyes. And I don't think they're going to allow Miami to come in there and derail what they got going on. Now, FSU does have some of their key players injured. Because Wilson didn't play last week, and I think he might not be playing this week. But I still think that Travis got enough to do, and that defense over there on Florida State got enough to beat Miami at home.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree, man. Early on, Miami looked like they might have had something at the beginning of the year. But ever since that debacle against Georgia Tech when they gave that game away, they've taken a nosedive the rest of the year. And this is the year that Florida State should win the ACC, but watch out for the Louisville Cardinal. Remember that. We're going to be talking about them in a couple of weeks when they creep into the top 6, 7, or 8, based on how the schedule is playing out and how these teams are going to begin to take these L's across the board. Man, another fire episode, an engaging episode as it pertains to the dialogue between you and I, and the chat was on lit tonight, man. The commentary were a lot of good points, and we continue to appreciate the engagement that each and every one of you provide us every episode, whether it's our Tuesday episode or our Friday episode, where we were predicting the happenings on the weekend or recapping the happenings of this past weekend. What do you got for the family before we log off for the night, Mike?
I mean, again, man, I want to thank everybody as always for your comments, for always coming on here showing us love. But for all you veterans out there, I just want to say again, man, happy Veterans Day weekend. Thank y'all for y'all service. I truly do mean it. Quite a few people on here I had the luxury and the opportunity to serve with, and it was definitely an honor and a privilege. And hey, brother, I thank you for your service. Hey, for those that don't know, man, me and Drew, we go all the way back. He was actually my platoon sergeant when I was a drill sergeant at the drill sergeant school, and we had to have a sit down because I didn't like the way my NCO. No, I'm just playing. But hey, we've been thicker than thieves ever since, man, brother. Mm-hmm. Man, have a great weekend, man. I love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Heartwarming message. Obviously, I'm going to reciprocate.
Don't forget that right there. Yeah, we forgot to answer that question.
Yes, I believe the question was how many current NFL players in the National Football League are veterans of either of the 6 armed services? And the correct answer was given by Karen earlier today. So Mrs. Karen Hughes, Command Sergeant Major Karen Hughes, gave us correct answer of 5, if I'm not mistaken. So congratulations to you, Karen. You will be receiving your prize. The MRE is on its way. You shall get it. And you are free. You are free to include that into the Thanksgiving dinner in a few weeks. But no, in all seriousness, man, I echo everything that you said about honoring and recognizing each and every veteran out there, whether you have already retired, transitioned, or moved on and into the next phase of your life. Thank you for your service. If you're currently serving in whatever service that you're serving in, thank you for your service. And thank you, and thank you, and thank you, and thank you to each and every family member out there that has continued to provide the support that each and every service member needs each and every day. So thank you for your service as the family of whatever service member that is serving. And my brother Griff, I tell you, man, between your household and my household, ladies and gentlemen, we have, man, well over 120 years of active duty service time within the confines of our household. So you have a lot of experience in these two households who have a lot of opinions, right? A lot of opinions on how way things should be done. But in all seriousness, man, for those who join us, are most often affiliated in some way, form, or fashion with the services. We thank you for your service and continue to walk this journey of life with us. And Griff, I tell you, man, I love you to life. You right with thick as thieves. My former DSOI, ladies and gentlemen, drill sergeant of the year for Fort Jackson in the year of 2000 and I think it was
2002, baby, 2002.
Why you got to pull the drill sergeant hat back
Hey,
on,
man? You said DSOI, man. I had
DSOI, right? I bet you if I asked my DSOI to pitch a model right now, he'd be like, "Oh."
Hey, the next movement I would name, explain, have demonstrated what you conduct practical work on is the position of attention. The position of attention is the key position. Well, don't get me started.
I hear you, brother, and you're right, man. It has been a pleasure calling you a brother, and as we say, brother from another mother, and I mean it when I say that. It has truly been a pleasure being a part of each other's lives for the past couple of decades, and I look forward to us being here kicking it around for a few more decades as we share our thoughts of Tom Brady playing until he's 63 and LeBron James playing until he's 70 in the NBA. But for the rest of y'all, man, enjoy your weekend. Have a safe weekend. Have a safe Veterans Day weekend, and hopefully your team does well, whoever they are playing against, and meet us back here Tuesday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time to go over what happened this weekend and to do the exact same thing we just did all over again while we converse with each and every one of you. Y'all stay safe, take care of each other, do something nice for yourself, do something nice for someone you don't even know, because it is a crazy world out there. Y'all be bracing.